This is the first time filming with my new camera, so I hope it turns out okay. I guess we will see. But anyway, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Sophie and I would love it if you click that big red subscribe button down below. I talk about language learning a lot, I make travel videos, I also talk about uni life. So if you are interested in any of those types of videos, then definitely make sure to click that big red subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell as well so that you never miss a video. Anyway, this video is going to be all about mistakes that I made when I first started learning German, and German is the language I've been learning for the longest, so I thought that would be the most interesting one to start off with. Maybe I will make a video later on about mistakes that I made when I first started learning French and Spanish, but I can imagine a lot of them were similar. Off the top of my head, all the ones I can think of are pretty similar. Oh, I can't speak English today, apparently. But yeah, so for a little bit of background knowledge, I'm currently studying German, Spanish and French at university, and I'm in my final year of university. But I originally first started learning German at secondary school, and that was not by choice. It was just when I started secondary school, we all had to learn French and German, and then in Year 9 we had to choose one to carry on as GCSE. If you're not from the UK, it's basically just like the exams we do at the end of secondary school, and we're about 16 years old when we sit these exams. And I chose German because I found it easier and I wanted to go on a school trip to Berlin, so I wasn't even taking German learning like serious at that point, and then later ended up studying at A level, which is the exams you take when you're 18, and you can then use those exams to get into university. And then I didn't end up going to university right away and stuff. I ended up actually going out to Germany for a bit, but if I tell you the whole overview of my German language journey, then it's going to take far too long. But yeah, just wanted to give you a quick overview, and now I should probably start talking about the mistakes that I made. So the first mistake that I made was assuming that just going to class alone and completing all of the homework tasks would be enough to one day make me fluent in the language, which obviously it isn't. Now, I was at school at the time, secondary school, and wasn't so interested in learning German, but at the same time, I don't know, I just thought, you know, yes, the classes were very easy, but I was like, oh well, we're beginners, and I don't know, I guess I just assumed by the time that I left secondary school I wouldn't be fluent, but I would speak much better German than I did speak by the time I left secondary school, and that if you then went and continued on to learn German to study German at A level, and then at university you just became fluent without putting in any extra work outside of like the homework tasks. My opinion on this did kind of change because I realised towards my like last few years of school that I really wasn't learning much German at all. But at the beginning, in year 7, when I first started learning German, that was kind of how I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't like that at all. Second mistake that I made was not bothering to learn the genders when learning new vocabulary. Now, I don't know why I did this, because I remember at school being told about the different genders, that there's masculine, feminine and neuter, but I don't really remember being told about like the case changes and stuff until I was at A level. I had seen them at GCSE, but just not been made aware of them. Apparently I was meant to get told that at GCSE, because the first 2 weeks of A-level were a revision of GCSE, and that was all like covered in the revision, and other people seemed to know what they were and were actually revising them, whereas I was learning them from scratch. My school clearly didn't teach me very well, but yeah, I didn't bother learning the genders. I was more interested in remembering the words so that I could use them. But then that later on came back to, like, what did you say, kick me in the no, actually, I don't want to say that. But yeah, it later came. It later caused me some problems, because then I'd be trying to form a sentence. And obviously when forming a sentence with these words, I needed to know the gender. and so then I could figure out how to use them correctly. If I wanted to say, I don't know, I have a brown dog, I need to know the gender of dog to know how to change the adjective brown, and I wasn't learning the genders, so that was my problem. Now this third one was partly my fault, but also partly the fact that didn't have access to the things that we have access to now, like Disney Plus, where you can just watch your favourite childhood movies in German. I didn't have access to anything like that back then. But I didn't expose myself to the German language as much as possible. I find watching stuff in another language to be very important, not only for learning new vocabulary, but improving your listening skills. And right up until I was getting that German exposure, right up until then, I always found listening the hardest, and I definitely didn't do very well in the listening sections of the exams at school, and I believe this was because I really wasn't immersing myself in the German language as much as possible. Now, yes, I said it was kind of harder because when I first started learning German, I don't think I even knew what Netflix was, if it existed, and I know for a fact that the first German Netflix series, Dark, hadn't even came out. Obviously Disney Plus wasn't a thing. So it was kind of hard to find stuff to listen to in German, but there were still songs, and I wish I had taken the time to just try and find more German music and to listen to the songs with the lyrics, so I actually knew what I was listening to. Another mistake that I made was underestimating the importance of learning grammar. Now, when I first started learning German at school, I did say I wasn't taught it very well. I wasn't even, I don't even remember being told about the different cases, which I swear is something that you're supposed to learn as a beginner, yet I don't remember learning it. I just remember learning a bit about the past tense, but I don't remember really learning about separable verbs and stuff. Maybe I did and I just didn't remember it, but you know, obviously if I wasn't learning it properly, and I wasn't going to understand the importance of learning grammar, because it was my first foreign language that I was learning. Well, if you exclude French, because I dropped it, but ended up picking it up later actually, which is funny in itself, but anyway, completely irrelevant to the point that I tried to make. I just didn't understand the importance of it, and now I get told all the time that my German grammar isn't very good, and of course since then I have learnt the importance of German grammar before even being told that my German grammar isn't very good, and I have actively tried to work on my German grammar, and I have improved my German grammar a lot, but it still wasn't very good, and it still was the thing that kind of brings my marks down in exams. And I honestly don't think you can learn German without learning the grammar. I know there are a few polyglots on YouTube who are like, oh yeah, you don't really need to learn the grammar. I've spoken to people before who have told me, yeah, I don't learn the grammar, I just practice speaking it and listening to language. Okay, those people weren't specifically talking about German. Personally, I think learning the grammar is important when learning any language, so you can make sure you're saying stuff correctly and really just understand better how the language works. But German is one of those languages that I really feel like you cannot learn it without the grammar, because there's so many rules, but the good thing is that they tend to stick to the rules, whereas some of the languages, they have a lot of exceptions. So, there's a lot of grammar, and people say German grammar is hard, and I do think you have to learn the grammar, but once you get your head wrapped around it, it's fine. This next big mistake that I made was not when I first started learning German, but when I first noticed my German really getting good. And this was when I went to Germany, and I was an au pair. My German improved a lot because I was going to classes and speaking German every day, and just being really surrounded by it. And I remember going from level B1 to level B2 in 2 months, which was just wow, crazy. That's the fastest I've ever seen my progress, just improving German. That's the fastest I've ever seen myself make progress. But when I came back from Germany and started studying at university. And because when I was an au pair, everyone would tell me, you know, other Germans would tell me, oh, your German was really good. I had this idea in my head that my German is really good, and I wouldn't really be so aware of the mistakes I was making, whereas these days I am consciously aware of the mistakes that I make in German. I filmed a video in German not that long ago, and when I was editing it I noticed so many mistakes, and even when I was filming it I would kind of slow down as I was speaking sometimes, because in my head I was thinking, wait, I don't think what I just said was grammatically correct. So I'm like aware of my mistakes now, but back then I wasn't really aware of them so much. I thought my German was really good. So then when I started university, I put more I set more time aside for working on my French, because I picked that up from beginners at university, and also on my like Spanish, because I wasn't the same level as everyone else in the class, because I was kind of in between the beginner and the advanced class level, and they stuck me in the advanced one because the beginner one was too easy but the advanced one was too hard, so I was like trying to catch up with everybody, which, you know, fair enough, I did need to do. But I wish I'd still dedicated more time to German, because now later on I'm really noticing that my German hasn't really improved much in the entire time that I've been at university. At least I haven't really noticed it where I improved much, where I have noticed my Spanish and my French improve. And I just think if I dedicated more time to learning German in first and second year, and to grammar, that's really the thing that I wish I dedicated more time to, my German would be so much better now. Next mistake that I made was directly translating things, because you can't always directly translate stuff, but I thought that you could. And sometimes that would lead to me saying just embarrassing things or things that don't make sense. For example, in an A-level German class, it was really hot in the classroom, and I wanted to open the window, so I think I said something like, darf ich das Fenster öffnen? Ich bin sehr heiß. Which is not how you say. I was trying to say I feel hot, but that was not what I was actually saying, and what I was saying was quite embarrassing, and I'm sure any of you who speak German and are watching this laughing at that silly mistake I've made. Maybe you made that mistake yourself if you were learning German, but yes, the correct thing to have said would have been ich bin mehr heiß. But we don't use the pronoun there in English, so I didn't include it in the German. But not ich bin mehr heiß, es ist mir heiß. I still can't say it correctly now. Yeah, I think it's es ist mir heiß. It is hot to me. Literal translation. I don't know. The next mistake that I made was thinking that I could read the Bruder Grimm stories when I was actually what, level A2, B1, somewhere around there, and I thought I could read them because they're fairy tale stories, which, you know, I knew already, so it would be easy. I'd learn new vocabulary. Great, it would be a great first book to read, well, in German. So I brought the book with all the different stories in German, but of course those stories were written very long ago, so there were lots of words that wasn't really used, that aren't really used so much in the German language anymore, and I found it very difficult to understand. I think even now at university I would still struggle. I would have to look up certain words in the dictionary and stuff, but back then my German wasn't even my German was nowhere near as good as it is now. Yeah, don't start off with anything that was written a long time ago as your first book. I recommend something more modern. Another big mistake that I made when I first started learning German was forgetting to address people that I didn't know as Sie, because in German there's two forms of there's two ways of saying you. There's du, which is very informal, and Sie, which is much more formal. So if you don't know somebody, you're going to use Sie with them naturally. Of course, there are other people that you would use Sie to when talking to, but yeah, if you don't know someone, if you're at the train station and you're talking to what's the person behind the ticket booth called? Like I don't know, you're talking to the person behind the ticket booth, then you would use see when talking to them because you don't know them. And that is something that I just would always forget about because obviously we don't have that in English. Now that I've been learning languages for a while, I'm more used to the fact that some languages do have like formal use, and I do make sure to use those. But when I was working as an au pair in Germany, I remember I'd always forget to, and I'd be using do when talking to people and the do forms, and then they would reply to me using the see form, and then I'd be like, oh wait, I was meant to use see when talking to them, not do. And now I do actively make an effort to think, right, okay, am I going to use do or am I going to use see when I talk to this person? But that's something I wish I'd done beforehand because I probably just looked silly. I mean, they would have been able to tell that German wasn't my first language, so I'm sure they were understanding, but I just, yeah, did look a bit silly, really. Next mistake that I made was not using YouTube to help me with my language learning journey. I did use it a bit. I used it for Easy German. I would watch Easy German videos on YouTube, but that was only when one of the students in the year above me, when I was doing my A-levels, recommended it. I never actually went out and actively searched for German videos on YouTube, and I wish I did because there's so many videos out there teaching you German. Of course there are way more now than there were back then because people are constantly continuing to upload more and more content to YouTube, but I know there was definitely still stuff back then, and now I just love it as well. Like if I've been, I don't know, say I'd learned a new grammatical structure or something at university and I'm just struggling to understand it, sometimes it's good to search on YouTube for that and just hear someone else explain it with a different explanation. Like sometimes hearing two different explanations, I don't know, or even if it's the same explanation, just hearing it again, having it reinforced by hearing it from someone else. Not that there's anything wrong with my teachers and their explanations, just sometimes I think it helps to hear something explained twice by two different people, personally. And also, like, it would have also been a great way to expose myself to the German language more because, you know, people are vlogging in German and I wish I had just typed it in Ein Tag in meinem Leben when I first started learning German and just watched vlogs like that, even though there'd be no subtitles and I would have struggled to understand. They use very basic, you know, I feel like when we vlog our daily lives, it's not very difficult. It's not like, you know, a clip on BBC News. So I thought that would have been quite easy for me to understand still, and I would have picked up useful vocabulary that people do use in their day-to-day lives, so I wish I had done that. Okay, so those were all of the mistakes that I made when I first started learning German. Let me know in the comments if you can relate to any of these mistakes, if you are learning German yourself, or let me know if you made any different mistakes, or if you, I don't know, if you've ever said anything funny in German that wasn't correct. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it and to subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! I just need to tell you